Hello, Thomas. Welcome back to
Hello.
Foreign Friday. How you feeling, my man?
I'm here, all ready to rock and roll with some interesting racing.
Yes, you have that nice picture. I thought you had the picture of the track we're going to, Ascot in Australia, which is in close to Perth. And if you're going to Google it, you better put all that information in there because otherwise you're going to get nothing but Ascot in England. So I ran through that issue for quite a bit yesterday and today. But, well, you learn from others. It's a sign of intelligence, right?
Well, that's what we're here for, to learn and hopefully pick a few winners.
And I thought when I first picked it up, because the track looks a little similar to that down there from the picture I saw, but it's actually Arlington. So take a good look at that, folks, because before too long, it's going to end up being a football field or a parking lot. Sadly.
Unfortunately, yes.
So tell us a little bit about the Ascot in Australia versus the Ascot in England.
Well, slightly different types of racing. This is one of their bigger days with the Group 1 race. It's an interesting track. I don't know if you've got a layout, but it's only 300 meters to the finish. From the
I
turn
do.
to the
I always got to.
So it is a quick turn. The turn is very quick and they start races from all over the place. I mean, it's the best way to describe it.
So with that quick stretch, what do you want horses at the lead when they're getting that stretch? Is there a lot of closing? So is the race basically one in the backstretch?
A lot of it is, yeah. I mean, the couple races that I watched, a lot of it was the horses were moving on the turn well, but then just hanging.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like a lot of momentum. Right now, the weather is supposed to be a little rainy, so I'm going to assume a little soft. But it's going to be hard to say how.
Well, when I saw was soft 7 right here, according to racenet.com, soft 7. Last time we went to Australia, it was supposed to be soft, and then it sunnied up, and it got fast and firm. But hopefully the weather this time stays the same. I think I read there's supposed to be a little additional wetness. So I would think it's going to stay soft.
Yeah, I would be surprised if it did.
All right, so the first race we're going to do is the Jungle Mist Classic. It is race 5 on the card. It's going to be tonight going into tomorrow morning. So 1:45 a.m. Eastern this evening here in the United States. So between Friday night and Saturday morning. So a little insomnia racing. This one is a 1,200 meter race. And as you alluded to a little bit earlier, they start all over the place. But this one's going to start in the backstretch. They're going to rip right down that backstretch, come into that turn, kind of a jagged turn, it looks like to me, maybe a wide sweeping turn in real life. And then down that short stretch to the finish line. Thomas, all right, get us started with our Australian racing for this weekend. Oh, before we do that, let's do this. Hold on a second. Let's look at the speed map. As they come out of the gate, it looks to me like you got a little bit of early speed in this one. And it looks like you got about 4 horses with express time being the fastest out of the gate. Thomas, as they settle in that backstretch, looks like, he's going to have a little bit of company. Four horses right behind him. And then in that short space to finish, Angelic Miss going to have the most late legs in a little bit of runway to get that done. All right, so now let's go ahead and make our picks.
All right, I started out with number 13, Baby Paris. That was 4 wins, 1 second from 5 starts. The second was in a Group 2 race, so a little better than this listed company race. Generally has shown speed, as you saw in the speed maps. It likes to be up with the leaders. Technically it's moving up in class from the last race, but again, it has raced in Group 2, and it did place in that one. So that's why I took it as my top choice. Number 2, Angelic Miss, is my second choice. The biggest concern with her is that she hasn't raced in a long time. But she has 2 good barrier trials for the prep here. Got a second and a third. And her first up record is good. 5 runs, 2 wins, and 3 placings. So she has handled layoffs before. At this distance, she has 4 wins from 10 starts. And she has won 2 listed races from 3 tries. So she's right in there with that. Again, the main issue is that layoff. But based on her past times that she's been off, she's been okay. But this is a long one. This is, over 350 days. So that's a bit of time. And I'm going to take number 6, Vain Tempest, my final choice. It ran second at last time out in a BM78 race. Came from the back of the field. It's tried listed company, 3 races back. It ran a nice 4th. That I like the career numbers. It's just 29 starts. It's been in the money 58% of the time. And I really think off that last race, she's got a chance to pick up something here.
A little bit of a placing. Okay, so that's interesting to me how you and I on the first 2 anyway kind of agree. I'm going to go with Angelic Miss. That soft record, 5 times out, 3 wins. I know it's been off for a while, but as you mentioned on that first up number, 5 times out, 2 wins, a second and 2/3. So I think this one will be ready to run. My next pick is number 5. That is Snip Aruchi. There you go. Oh, that one looks like this one might be the favorite. The only thing I was a little concerned with, this horse has not really gotten a soft track yet. Well, it has 3 times with a win and a second, but most of its good work has been done on a good track. But at the distance, the horse has run 8 times, won 5 of them at the track and the distance, 2 wins and 3 races. So if it likes the soft surface, I think the horse could live up to its odds. Number 13 is my third choice down here, Tom. That is Baby Paris. Baby Paris, this one is 2 for 2 on a soft track, but overall it's hard to argue with a horse that's run 5 times with 4 wins and a second. So obviously a quality horse. And then finally, my 4th pick and final choice for this first race is number 1, Amos Nuis. I don't know if I got that right or not, but Amos Nuis on a soft track, 6 times, 3 wins, a second and a third. It's been at the track 12 times, won 5 of them with a second in there as well. So 50% in the money. And at the distance, 9 times, 4 W's, 2 seconds, and a third. So likes the track, likes the distance, likes the going. And we'll see if this is a horse. I mean, if it was the favorite, that'd be really good because he's 4 for 4 as the favorite, but not the favorite today, Tom. So that wraps up the first race that we're going to cover. So the next one we're going to move off to is race number 6. This one is the CARBINE Club of WA stock. I think they just missed the E in their stake. So this one is 1,400 meters. Again, looking at our chart here, they're going to start back here. This turn looks like it comes kind of quick, kind of sharp down that long backstretch into that kind of sweeping turn, and then into the final finish there with a little bit of race to run. Thomas, how do you? Well, that's before we do this tonight because all these different websites, you got to remember the different things that are available, right?
Well, some of them are very useful, and some of them can drive you crazy.
Yeah, well, the only thing that everyone should have the predictor in them. But looking at the early speed, Billy Ain't Silly looks like it has a pretty good advantage over everybody else as they jog along in the backstretch. Billy Ain't Silly is going to have a ton of company, it looks like. And then in the final strides, boy, it looks like it's just going to be an all-out stampede to who can get there first. All right, Tom, who is going to get there first in your view?
I'm going to take number 6. Let's Gallivant is my top choice. Ran second at Ascot. Last out in a group 3 in a longer distance. Sat close to the pace, but just didn't have enough to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we're going to come down in class because this is a listed race versus a group race. Then it had a poor effort, a 9th. Sat close to the pace and just had nothing. But it looked like one of those races where it had some issues. This distance, it's done very well. It's got 6 starts, 3 wins, and a placing. I think the return to listed company makes sense. They do have this horse entered as an also eligible in the 8th race, and he's 55 to 1 there. You're not going to get that in this race.
No. So I'd imagine they're going to probably enter him in the one they think they have the best chance to win, which would be this one.
I think this is a better choice, but you never know. It is. I took number 11, Empty, in my next choice. Ran fourth in a Group 3 last time out, sat mid-pack, and moved up a little bit for fourth. Ran in a BM78 race at Ascot before, and it's at the distance and won. Much closer to the pace in that race, and it looks like that's what this horse needs to do, in my opinion. The form's good, and the draw is good, and so with that speed, I think could establish a nice lead there. And now we're going to go a little crazy.
All right, that's what we want. You're here anyway.
Maybe not, but we'll see. Number 1, Winning Partner is going to be my final choice. This one ships from across the country. Been racing at Flemington, where it ran 10th, and it won at Moonamee Valley at 1,500 meters, and that's been really its best effort in a while. What I thought was interesting was the jockeys coming with it, and they've had good success. 10 starts, 5 wins, and a placing. It lacks runs on this track, obviously. So that's somewhat of a question mark. And the going, it looks more like it'll place than it'll win on a soft. And that's why I put it in for third.
Tom, can it win? Nah, but for sure you got to have him in there. So strangely enough, we're going to start in the same place again. Let's Gallivant. This horse on the soft track is 6 times out, 3 wins and a third. But when I look at that last race, there was some significant improvement. So I think Let's Gallivant on a surface that it should continue with that improvement. Number 7 is my next choice. That is Devoted. This guy's got a soft track 2 times. Tom, how many wins does he have in 2 tracks on a soft track?
27.
Yeah, well, that would be interesting. And then he's got 2 wins at the distance. So I would think that you're going to see this horse do pretty well. I'm just a little concerned about at the track. 6 times out, just a trio of thirds. Hasn't found the winner's circle yet. So that's why I downgraded him to second instead of maybe first. Number 13, Pans Down. That is my third choice in here. This one was much, much, much better in its last race. So I like to see horses that are on the upswing. And on the soft track, 6 times, 3 wins, 2 seconds. So a horse that's improving, likes the surface. Let's see if he can prove a little more tonight. By the way, that race is going to start at 2:25 a.m. So maybe by 2:27 a.m., Pans Down will prove it has improved once again. And then finally, the fourth pick in this play is number 9. That one is, well, that was a strange way to open up for me. That one is It's a Rare Day. It's a Rare Day. Of all these horses in here, has probably been the most consistent of the performers. So I love those consistent horses, not because I think a lot of these consistent horses are Tom horses in that. Is it going to win? Probably not. But will it give it every effort to finish in the money? Absolutely. And the one thing about consistent horses is that the other horses are going to have to run good races to beat it, because if they don't run good races, its average race is good enough to beat all the others. So that's why I love those consistent horses. Race number 7 tonight or this morning at Ascot in Perth, or close to Perth, Australia, is the WA. I guess that must stand for Western Australia, right?
Yeah, it's Western Australia.
Western Australia Guineas. I think I finally got that pronounced correctly. That one is a 1,600 meter race. 1,600 meters. We got a little bit more of a run into that first turn. Going to come down through the sweeping turn into the short finish line. Now I am accustomed to what we have here. So if we look at the speed map, looks like you got a couple of them here that want to get out. So the Snow Dome and Swear to God look like they're going to have it to their liking up front. Would you read that the same way?
Yes.
And then as they try to chase those 2 down, it looks like they are going to have plenty of company in that backstretch. And then as they come for home, again, you got Amelia's Jewel looking like it's the standout with the late legs, but a whole bunch of others. The cavalry will be coming down the stretch. Tom, who do you like in this race that starts at 3:05 a.m. Eastern?
And I am going to start with number 15, Amelia's Jewel, as my top choice. 5 starts, because 4 wins and 1 placing. Lost its first race of its career and hasn't since. And that was only by a head. So, I mean, it's a closer, a dead closer. It's never run on soft surface. So that means, what do? Go look at the breeding. Well, that sire is in France, and he's produced one horse by the name of St. Mark's Basilica.
Not bad.
Along with 37 other black type horses, and they do like that soft going. So I would be very surprised if she does not like the soft going. Should be the favorite. Yeah, I think so. But you may get about $2 plus, because there's a number of horses in this race that are going to certainly be challenging her. If that pace is up front, and she's been over this track before, so they know it's a short stretch. They know how they're going to handle it just fine. Number 9, Demolition, is going to be my next choice. One last
71 to 1, Thomas.
Yeah,
now we're talking.
Yeah, now we're in the right ballpark, right? It's at 1,400 meters at 1 in a Class 1. Ran really close to the lead, which I think interesting way to do it. I mean, its maiden win was at 1,400, and then it ran a third at 1,600 at Ascot. It's at 5th most of that race, and this was a kind of race for non-winners of one other than that we have in this country. So he's got one good run at the distance, did okay, 10 career starts. He's been in the money 7 times, and at that price, I got to put him in.
Oh, 71 to 1. Yeah. If you finish your second or third, you're going to get paid.
Yeah. And then I'm going to take number 6. Bustler is my final choice. Undefeated in 4 starts at a distance of 1,000 meters to 1,400 meters. It's been sitting behind the leaders in all of its starts. Very consistent there. I initially thought this one was going to be the favorite, but then I looked at that filly and I'm going, yeah, no. But I mean, distance a little bit of a concern, because it hasn't done that, but it has won on the soft. You're not going to get a big price on this one. They got 4 to 1 as the market right now. I think that's probably about correct.
Yeah. Slipping up, it looks like, to maybe to 92. Well, will you stop? I'm going to start. How many times have we seen this recently, Tom? Undefeated horses in these international races. You don't know how good they are until they lose. So until he loses, I'm going to put him on top. So Bustler is the one that I'm going to have on top. I agree with you on Amelia's Jewel as my second choice. A little bit to form for me to get cracking out of here. My only question was, how does it run on a soft surface? You mentioned the breeding. You can see right here the sire, 11% of its horses won 11% of the time on a wet surface. So that's anything above 10%. Right around 12% is the number I'm looking for. Although in Australia, they do have deeper fields. So an alpha angle where what I consider an alpha angle, just to give you in the United States, the average field has 8 horses in it. So that means 1 out of 8, just a pure probability of 12.5% chance to win. So in anything that has in the United States a win percent of above 12.5% is what they call in the stock market world alpha. So I look for horses in the US with some angles with 15% or more. I don't know what the average field size is here, but it's certainly more than 10%. So that would be an alpha angle for Amelia's Jewel by my definition. The next horse for me is number 3, All the King's Men. I am really forming this one, Tom, which I don't like. But what I do like about this horse's last race, it ran more than a second faster than it did in its prior start. Same track. Has gotten that soft track one time, brought it home as a W. Whenever I see a horse improve its times like that, it's one that I always circle in my book. And then finally, number 2, Sant'Orio, the final choice for me. This horse just continues, if you look at the form, to get better race by race by race by race by race. On the soft surface twice, 2 with a second and a third. Been at the track and the distance one time, won that race. So you know he can handle the track. You know he can handle the distance. So we'll see if that horse can continue to move up the improvement ladder. The last race we're going to do today at Australia before we head over to Singapore for the Gold Cup over there, a Group 1 race. This is the Railway Stakes. And I remember this one, I think, from last year, Tom. So I think we did this.
Yeah, well, they run this at other tracks, this
Okay.
type of name. I don't think we've ever done anything at Perth.
Yeah, I didn't remember it, but I did remember this Railway Stakes.
Yeah, I don't think we've ever done this Ascot. We've done the other Ascot.
for sure, many times.
Not this one.
Well, this one's going to go off at 3:45 a.m. Eastern. And I should note, I'm sorry I didn't bring this up earlier. If you're watching in the US, it's going to be Australia D like dog. So that's what, and I will put up on horseracingtoday.net some free past performances that are available online, along with Tom's comments and my comments. So you'll have all that information at your hand, and then links to all these pages that we have on here. This one is 1,400 meters again, right? Or 1,600, I think.
16.
It's going to start back here, and then they're going to come up and back and around. So we kind of have an idea of what this race will look like. Again, and their interpretation of the early speed looks like this. Looks like Buster Bash is going to have a pretty good. Is this Let's Gallivant? That's the same horse from the other race that you mentioned, where it's 55-1. So if Let's Gallivant runs in the other race, Buster's Bash could have the lead all to himself. As far as the way they'll look as they come into the settling position, and not as much. Looks like this field is mostly backloaded, so maybe some early speed can hold up in this spot. And then down the stretch they come. Again, looks like the cavalry is going to be charging down the stretches. Everybody's kind of within range of each other. Tom, take us through your thoughts on this one.
My first top choice is going to be number 2, Yonkers. He's shipping in for this race. He's been racing at Caulfield and Rosehill. He's been running at 2,000 meters. He got a 5th, and then the race before they got a 2nd. This is a mid-pack type, and he generally moves nicely at the end. He's a Group 2 and Group 3 winner, but not Group 1 yet. He gets the top jock local, and Chris Weller's the trainer, and I like that. He has 2 wins at this distance, but there was some comment that I read that says he wants a little longer. So I'm going to put him as top because he has won at this distance. But I'm going to throw that caveat out there that they threw at me. Next one is going to be number 13, Searchin' Rock. This is going to be my next choice. This is one that won its last race at 1,500 meters at Ascot, and it was Group 3 by half a length. It sat third most of this race, and then so a little bit of speed sit behind that speed that's there, and it looks like there's some lone speed if the other one doesn't draw in. And nice win. First start of the season, the best way to describe it, it was a mess. It was far back early, didn't do a damn thing, and couldn't be more unsuited for his running style if he ever tried. So it just awful race.
Mm-hmm.
Got some wins placing at this distance. She's tried Group 1 company once and did not do anything in that, but yeah, you never know.
Done well at the track, 6 times 3 wins, so it does seem to prefer that track.
Well, and the other thing I like, third up, it's got 3 starts, 2 wins, and a placing. So that's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the barrier position, number 2, I think that helps this horse. It just got to get out of the gate. Number 8, Buster Bash is going to be my final choice. Winner of its last 2 races, and they keep moving it up in class. Won a listed race at 1,800 meters last time out at Ascot. It is a speed horse. I think it'll be closer to the front. Its record at this distance has got 5 starts and 3 wins and 1 placing. Granted, these are a little lower level races, but the form he's definitely in form, and you got to put him in there. And I think you're going to get a decent price on this one.
Looks like 21-1. All right, at least right now. Anyway, for me, I'm going to start off with number 15, Treasure Star. Looks like he's about 11-1 right now. The only question for me about this horse is soft. I mean, he's run career time 7 races, 4 wins. On the good track, 6 of 4. The one thing back in here, though, on the heavy track, he did run once and ended up getting a 2nd. So I don't think that the surface is really going to make much of a difference for this horse. Number 16 is my next choice. That is Tricks of the Trade. Tricks of the Trade. This one, absolutely, from looking at the form, I hope I'm right on this, but I think I am. Looks like me like he will be closing in this spot. At the distance, one time, that was at the track. He won that one on a soft track twice with a win and a 2nd. And if it gets any wetter, if it gets heavy, He's won both of those. So if the track conditions worsen, Tricks of the Trade shouldn't be bothered by it.
He was my fourth choice.
It was your fourth choice, Tricks of the Trade. And then my next choice, my third choice, is going to be number 7, Alaskan God. That's an interesting name for a horse for sure. This one, if you look back in the horse's history, it's going to make its second start after a layoff. So second up, it's made it to that point once before, brought home the top prize. Every race, though, has been on a good track. It hasn't seen a wet track yet. So that's the only question for me. We'll see if it can answer that question tonight. And my final pick, Tom.
Well, the sire number is 14 on wet,
14%.
So that's something to note.
Yeah, that's pretty pretty stellar,
that's a
right?
Strong number.
Yes, indeed. And especially since that's almost an alpha angle here. And then I agree with you. I have the 8-horse as that speed horse there as my fourth choice, Bustard Bash. You mentioned, Tom, that this horse has been just improving from race to race to race. The last 6 races, 4 wins and a second and a third. So you cannot question that horse has come into form. Absolutely. So that wraps up our thoughts for Australia at Perth tonight. We have one more. We're going to go to Singapore. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But before we do that, if you're going to do college basketball, college football, or hockey, our picks with the professor, there is a link in the description below. If you put any action on that, I don't know if he's going to do the World Cup or not, but that's coming up too. So keep an eye on that. I might tweet out about some World Cup games. So you can follow me at HRT on HRT Rich on Twitter. If I have any thoughts about World Cup games,
still around.
They're not going to close. I think they got rid of the people because they were afraid that they might sabotage it. It might not be around from what I read. But in any case, if Twitter's not around, I don't know what you're going to do. Maybe I'll send them to Sean on Facebook, or we'll put them on horseracingtoday.net. But whatever it is, if you like college football, college basketball, hockey, picks with the professor, you want to check out the NFL, Sean, myself, and Jared, we need to rebound from just an awful week last week, which we had a good year so far, but we'll see if we can get back to where we were before. All right, Thomas, the last race track we're going to go to is in Singapore. What is this track? Kranji? What is it called?
Karja, I think it's pronounced.
Karja?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to Karja. Singapore, the Gold Cup. This one is a Group 1 race for 3-year-olds and up. It's a pretty deep field, Tom. 19 horses, it looks like, right?
Yep.
And then
one scratch.
One scratch down here. Preposterous Return. So I probably have that one in my picks. Do I have that one in my picks? I don't have that one in my picks, thankfully. All right. So what do you know about Kranji or whatever they call it?
Well, they have two tracks.
Mm-hmm.
The inner one is a all-weather.
Mm-hmm.
And on the outside, as you can see, is very similar to ours. They do race the way we do, anti-clockwise. And this is of course, a 2-turn race. So it's a 1.25 miles, and it's generally, my experience there has been mixed. I can't say I've done well,
Mm-hmm.
but in watching some of the races, they can come from anywhere. And from my experiences, the speed does not hold.
No.
At least in the races that I have bet in the past. I played a couple speed horses, and they were still running last time I checked.
Still turn on a TV, and there they are, huh?
Yeah, and so it's definitely an interesting track, and as you see, there's 6 tracks technically there, but some of the, of course, this is training and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They're not used as their regular quote unquote tracks.
So this one looks like it's 2,000 meters. So I'm guessing it's going to start right here. And then it's going to go past the finish line one time, make those 2 turns like you mentioned. I guess it's going to probably go out.
Outside, it'll be on the longer course.
Well, it says S here, so it looks to me like 2,000 is S. So
there's a short course, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe they're going to come through there. I don't know.
So a little less of
and then come and finish right there. So that's what it looks like to me. We'll find out if that's the case. But when they are running, Thomas, and this one's going to start at 4 a.m. Eastern. From what I read, the track is listed as good right now, so it should continue to stay there. I didn't see anything in the weather forecast that said that might change. And again, I'll link to this. There's a lot of information in here. You can see they have race analysis, media selections, form guide. So if you want the form guide, you can expand them all and read it. And this is where I did my work off of the form guide, and then just kind of looked at form and read some of the comments to see how they are. Race comparison to give you a sense of what the horses have come out from. Some barrier statistics, which post positions have done the best. All right, Tom. So let's go ahead and make our picks for this race and see how close we are. Oh, and by the way, this should be on Twin Spires. It should also be on Keeneland and Naira, all the major betting outlets online. So sorry, go ahead.
No problem. I'm going to take number 9, Circuit Mission, as my top choice. Ran 4th in a Group 1 last race. It faced some of these horses in this race. Basically, it was at the top of the stretch. It was sitting second and then just didn't finish. So maybe a little short on form, possibly. It was interesting because in between that race, it ran 2 barrier trials and won one of them and ran 7th in the other one. This is a horse that's never won a Group 1 in 2 tries, but he's placed at this distance. He has won on both surfaces, so he's all weather and turf. And since June, I mean, he's lightly raced, but since June to September, he's got a win in 2 seconds. So it's a lot of consistency there, and I think you may get a price on this one.
Tough to say. I don't have the odds anywhere, so I don't
know. I'd have to pull it up. I don't have it either.
Mm-hmm.
Number 12. I know this one's a big price.
Tangible?
Yeah. Number 12, Tangible. Prepped in a barrier trial, ran 6th, and this was a good paced race, was what the description I got. Ran 6th again against some of these horses in a Group 1, and it was dead last most of the race. So it did move forward. It just didn't move forward in probably the right time. It's been racing in Class 1s. It ran 8th in shift positions, which was a weird race, I thought. Went 8th to 10th to 11th, and then got 8th. So a couple passing them and just not really doing much. Better effort on the all-weather. He got a 3rd there. Why did I pick this horse? Well, one, it's won at this distance. He's got a good record running in the money, and I like those big odds. Finally, I'm going to take number 2, Minister, my final choice. Won last start in a Class 1. And it was very forwardly placed in that race. I like that. And ran a really good 3rd in a Group 1. And again, facing some of these horses. So definitely in form. He never won at this distance, but he has placed twice at this distance. He's won a Group 1 in the past, and he's placed 4 times. He's got good form. Winning at this distance is my only question mark.
Yeah, I have really no idea what the odds are. So I just went through again. I read through all the comments, looked at some of the forms. So you have the race comments. I forget where they are. Form guide. So I went through this. I read through all of these comments, looked at some of the form, and then I came away with number 1. Hong Kong Great is my top pick. And then I came away with number 5, Hard to Think, which kind of described the way going through which horse is the pick here. So I figured that was appropriate. So 1, 5. And then my final choice, number 3, Sacred Croix. Again, no idea what the odds are on any one of those horses. So I'll be interested to see what tomorrow morning looks like.
I just pulled it up. Right now, Tangible is 50 to 1.
Ooh, nice.
Hong Kong Great is listed for 4 to 1. That jockey's the one that won the Melbourne Cup. So he's coming in from Australia to ride. Minister's sitting at 6 to 1. Did you have Sacred Croix?
Yeah, the 3 horse.
That's 4 to 1. That's also a jockey. She's coming in from Australia to ride. This is, as I said, this is their big day. This is a huge race. Critical Mission, my top choice, is listed at 20 to 1.
Nice.
And
Hard to Think.
Hard to Think.
Number 5.
Oh, 5. Right now at 30 to 1.
There we go. 30 to 1. I had to get a bomb in there. Thankfully, got one in there. That was my second choice. So maybe between the two of us, we had that one race. I forget where where we had 5 picks between the two of us in the 10-cent superfecta. 10-cent superfecta. I think that was the one with Giga Kick. I could be wrong on that, but the first one we did with Giga Kick, the 10-cent superfecta paid like $1,380. So maybe take a look at all of the picks, considering there's some big odds in there, and figure a way to jumble them up together. Well, that takes us through the race.
Let's quickly look at the offerings here. Right now, they're not listing what kinds of bets
that are available.
Yeah, not yet, at least.
Well, maybe it would be at least trifecta, I would imagine. No,
I would be surprised if there's a trifecta. Let me pull it down. Hold on, let me look. Okay, we got win and show, exacta, trifecta, super. There's the win and show bet where you can bet top place and third, and then there's the swinger.
All right, so yeah, I would, with all those high odds, maybe think about putting a 10-cent superfecta together somehow with all those high ones and commit maybe $3, $4, $6 to it and see what happens. Maybe you can get a big bomb in there, and like we had at
the only need one
kick, just one. Well, there's 3 of them in there, so or 4 of them.
Now these are, I mean, right now the odds are, 4-1 is the favorite. So there's these gimmicks are gonna pay something.
Indeed, just the currency exchange is what gets you. All right. So tomorrow I will be back with Charles at 12 o'clock Eastern. We'll cover the Del Mar card tomorrow. You're going to want to make sure you check that out. On Monday, Thanksgiving week here in the States, I will be back Monday morning with Terry for Parks. Tuesday, Horseshoe Indianapolis. Wednesday, with Charles at Churchill Downs. We're not quite sure if we're going to do Thanksgiving Day or not yet. We might in the morning. I know they have a big fairgrounds card every year in Thanksgiving, so we'll probably think about covering that. Tom, any inclination?
That used to be opening day, and they moved it up. But that used to be traditional opening day at fairgrounds, and I've been there a few times on Thanksgiving.
Well, that's probably fun. Any inclination is what we might do on Black Friday next week?
No, that's what you haven't looked.
All right, and then of course,
I was actually looking a little more ahead. I was looking at, because Sunday racing will start next year at Maydam, so we'll definitely be doing some of those races, and of course working towards the Dubai World Cup race and races and that whole card. I mean, it's usually pretty good horses running in that race. So maybe we'll do a few before that, so you get some idea of what's happening there,
how that track plays for sure.
Yeah, and today there was some good racing in Bahrain, and some decent European form there, and Dettori and people like that were riding. As you know, the day after Christmas, Frankie Dettori is going to be riding at Santa Anita for that. And it'll be the first time he's back since he was 16 years old.
Wow.
Riding as a rider. So a couple of years in between there. He's done okay for himself.
A lot of years, man. Where do they go? Bob Seeger got that right. 20 years, man. Where do they go? I don't know. All right. So then on Monday, Jamie will return with Sean on Monday night for Horse Center with a great slate of guests, as always. So you're going to want to make sure you don't miss that. And the easiest way to make sure you don't miss anything, whether it's our regular Monday through Friday picks, it's our Horse Center, Foreign Fridays with Tom, and some great new content that we have slated coming for 2023. Make sure you hit the subscribe button on YouTube. Follow us on our social sites. Scrolling below, Horse Race to number 2 day, Horse Race Today. And again, don't forget tonight, Friday night, Sean, myself, and maybe Jared. Jared might be out. Going to cover the NFL and try to rebound.
Oh, I thought you were going to Buffalo to do some shoveling.
Yes, indeed. We were thinking about that. I'm sure the kids out there are going to be loaded at the end of this weekend, man.
Yeah, well, the field may need some help too.
Yeah, they moved the game to Detroit, so that won't be an issue. All right, Thomas, no matter what you're doing this weekend, whether it's at what used to be Arlington Park, anything that you're doing, we hope that it can only end up in one place, and that has to be
the winner's circle.
Indeed. Thanks for joining us. Have a fantastic weekend.